Another idea that I think is really relevant to our work as clinicians who treat complex co-occurring disorders is that this idea of I only use to self-medicate my trauma or my depression or my anxiety. And we can very easily forget that addiction is primary and can have a life of its own. And so while it's true that most of us have never met somebody who struggles with addiction who doesn't have trauma, that um, if the addiction isn't treated, there's really no hope of treating that trauma. And also, addiction, as I said, can really take on a life of its own. And it's comprised of three things: a mental obsession, which means when I'm not engaged in my addiction, my mind takes me to the addiction, whether I want to or not. So the idea here is, yes, I use when I want to, but also I use when I don't want to. And sometimes I use when I'm not thinking about using at all. Then there's also a physical craving, or the big book calls it an allergy. So in treatment language, a lot of people use the word craving. Did you have a craving today? In 12-step language, a craving can only happen after you've started to ingest alcohol or after you've already started to engage in whatever the behavior is. Something gets activated, and we don't have any control over the amount that we take. And then the third piece is a spiritual malady. And that's what a lot of people describe as feeling like I never felt like I fit in, or I've always felt like there was something wrong with me, or I always felt like everyone else got the manual to life and somehow I missed that day. And that really is the unmanageability that we talk about in the first step, is the same thing as the spiritual malady. That the unmanageability of a patient's life isn't just all the crazy things that they do when they're engaged in their addiction, more the maladaptive behaviors. It's how they feel right now, which the big book describes as restless, irritable, and discontent. So I want to dispel this myth that somebody has to use a lot, that the quantity is important, or that they have to have been engaged in an addiction for years. And this quote I've pulled here is from page 34 in the big book. To be gravely affected, one does not necessarily have to drink a long time, nor take the quantities some of us have.